This conference will now be recorded.
So in previous session, we have seen how we can get data from the CSV file, how we can import the data from CSV file, and same way we will see how we are going to import data from my Salesforce data, Salesforce. So when I say Salesforce, what it means? So what type of Salesforce data we can import? So we can connect Einstein Analytics with multiple data sources, including my local Salesforce, okay, and also from other Salesforce environment, also from external data sources. It may be from CSV file, it may be from external data source, multiple options we have. Let me write all these options. So it can be my CSV file, it can be my local Salesforce data, or it can be my external Salesforce data. I'll tell what is the meaning of external Salesforce data, or also we can get from the external data sources. So there are multiple data sources where I can get my data for the Einstein analytics. So when I say local Salesforce data, what it means? So now you have a org where you have Einstein analytics license you have on that org. So if you are trying to get data from the same org where you have Einstein analytics already exist, then that org we call as local Salesforce org. From that local Salesforce org, you can get data to your Einstein analytics platform. Same way, if you have Einstein analytics license in one org, but you want to get from other orgs, then that kind of Salesforce environment or org we call as external Salesforce. So if you want to get data from a Salesforce where you do not have Einstein Analytics platform, but you want to get data in some other org where you have Einstein Analytics platform, then you say the org is nothing but external Salesforce org. So you may get data from your local Salesforce org, or you may get data from your external Salesforce org. So same way, we can get data from external data source. We'll see each one how we're going to do it. Local Salesforce data means the Einstein analytics located at same org with Salesforce platform. Okay, and whenever you are trying to get data from local Salesforce org, that time sync is not mandatory. Maybe there or not there, no problem. Sync not mandatory. If there is sync not mandatory, still you can get data as it's locally available in the same org. Okay. So when I go to external Salesforce data, Einstein analytics are located at different environment with Salesforce. So we can get data into Einstein analytics by using some kind of connected data source. I'll show you how we are going to do that. We'll use something like connected data source when I want to get data from my external Salesforce org. Okay. And that time your sync must be enabled. If sync is not enabled, then we cannot get data from the external Salesforce org. Okay, then let's see. I'll give a quick comparison between how this external Salesforce org and local Salesforce org works and in what scenarios we are going to use. Let me make a quick chart of it. So now I'm just making a table where I'll just define what is my local Salesforce org and what is my external Salesforce org. Okay, let's see. I'll see the comparison between these two org. Let's consider this is I call as my local Salesforce. And this is going to be my external Salesforce. And now when I go to this local Salesforce or external Salesforce, so now what type of data sources I'm just going to use, that we'll see. So now first thing, let's compare data sync. As I said about data sync, what is going to be data sync? So for if you want to get data from a local Salesforce org, your data sync is not must. So it's not must. If there also is fine. If or it's not must to need the data from a local Salesforce org to sync the data to my Einstein platform. But when I go from external Salesforce data, so sync must be enabled. If your sync is not enabled, you cannot get the data from the external Salesforce. And let's see what is the relations with Einstein Analytics Platform. Relations with Einstein Analytics Platform. Okay. So now when I say that, so Einstein Analytics is located in the same org, but external Salesforce means we do not have relations with Einstein Analytics. There's Einstein Analytics may be located in some other org. So simply we can say in local org when I go to get data, that means Einstein Analytics is located in the same org. Okay, but see, when as I said in my previous session, whenever you are trying to get data or you want to do some kind of reporting a dashboard in Einstein Analytics platform, that means your data should be stored in the Einstein Analytics platform itself. So when I trying to get data from local Salesforce, that means see, I have Einstein Analytics located in the same org, but my data is not shared with Einstein Analytics platform. So I want to take data from my Salesforce objects to my EA platform or to my Einstein Analytics platform. That means I want to share. So Einstein Analytics is located in the same org, although we can say data is not shared. Then I can see to make a to move the data or create a data source from local Salesforce data so that we can get data in my Einstein Analytics platform. Okay. So when I say this sessional, so do not have any relation with Einstein Analytics platform. Einstein Analytics platform. Okay. And data not shared also. Okay. Same way, what kind of data flow we can have? Okay. So data flow means that there is something called SFDC digest. I'll show you this what is this SFDC digest and how we manage it. So we will use SFDC digest node to get my data from local Salesforce org to my Einstein Analytics platform. And same way, my external Salesforce also using data SFDC. Sorry, not SFDC digest node. They use only the digest node. So I'll talk what is this SFDC digest node and what is this normal digest node. So what is the difference between them? So for now, just remember, if you want to get the data from local Salesforce org, we will use my SFDC digest as no node, and when it's from external Salesforce, we will use digest node. Okay. Same way, when I talk about filter, how we can do the filtering of data. So we can filter with query. Okay. But here, if it's external database, we cannot filter on sync. Like when I'm going to do sync, that time I cannot filter if it is from external Salesforce org. But during sync, I can filter from local Salesforce with the help of query. Okay. So how many org will be my local org? So it's obviously the same org where my Einstein analytics exists. That means only one org can be local org. But when you go to external Salesforce, we can relate to multiple Salesforce can be my external Salesforce data. Okay, so this is the difference between my local Salesforce and external Salesforce when I want to use Einstein Analytics. And same way, so in both the cases, you see my sync. If you see about the data sync, so my sync not must for local Salesforce, but must be enabled for external Salesforce. So whether sync is enabled or not, we need to create a data flow. It may be local Salesforce or anything. So if sync is enabled or not, we need to create a data flow to extract data from Salesforce data to Einstein Analytics. So if you take a note of it, simply to understand, so your sync is enabled or not, but still we have to create the data flow. So you have to create data flow if you want to sync the data from Salesforce org to my local org, or from my Salesforce org to my Einstein this platform. Okay. And once when you create data flow, So in my Salesforce, we have many objects. Okay, so but I may not need all objects data in my Einstein analytics platform. So whether your sync is enabled or not, you need to create a data flow to extract data from Salesforce data to Einstein analytics, and also you should know which objects and what are the fields stored data what you need. So we have to identify the object and fields which you want to sync. Okay, I'll show you how we're going to do it. Okay, that's the first thing. So now we have to create a data flow. Then in the data flow, what we do, we'll see how the objects are going to be uh, filtered out or find out, and what are the fields you need to do. And if your sync is enabled in the both the local Salesforce and the external Salesforce, sync may be enabled. If sync is enabled, then data will be extracted from replicated data source. So if sync not enabled, I'm taking the data directly from the local Salesforce. But if your sync is enabled, just remember this point. So if your sync is enabled, what is going to happen? So the data what I want to get, this data will be extracted from a replicated data source. I'll diagrammatically I'll explain what is this replicated data source, or I can say replicated data stored in Einstein analytics. Okay, and then see what happened if I stored my data in some kind of uh, replicated data source, then instead of directly always going and getting data from the Salesforce directly, I can get from this replicated data store, which nothing but going to be more faster for us. Okay, so when we want to add the object and field, where we'll add on this SFDC digest node. So data flow will automatically add the object and field for the sync. If sync is not enabled, then what we do? Every time you run the data flow, it will extract directly from the Salesforce. So two things happens. If sync is enabled, then data will be stored in replicated data, and then we will get whenever you want to refresh the data, I'll get from the replicated data source. If it's not sync is not enabled, then whenever you will run the data flow, it will directly get data from the Salesforce, and which may take little bit more time in process. Okay, so now let's see in system wise how this is going to happen. If I go and connect to my Salesforce org, so let me go to my Einstein Analytics Studio. As I show, as you know, from the application menu, I can go to Einstein Analytics Studio. Okay, so now let me show you two things. If I go to my data manager, see, I'm going to my data manager. From data manager, what you can do, you can see you can see the data flow and recipe. Okay, and you have all other options like data and connect. We'll go each one by one. So if I want to get the data, if you go to the connect, you can see two different options, which is say SFDC local. So SFDC local nothing but in a local org, what are the objects are synced in your Einstein analytic platform, and there are multiple type of syncs, like you can see full sync, incremental sync, everything. The same way, if I go to data, so what a data set we have, and if you go to my data flow, if I want to get data from my Salesforce org to my Einstein Analytics platform, I want to right now I want to do how I'll get data from my local Salesforce org. So if I want to do that, what I do? If you go to this data flow, then there is you can see one option called create data flow. Okay, you can put a name here. Okay, let's see. For this learning, I just gave my fast data flow as a name. I'll show you different options here. See, I just created. So this is one kind of data flow where you have multiple options we have. You can see here. So now see there are like dataset builder, how you will build the dataset. Then you, as I said, when I want to get data from the Salesforce, local Salesforce, we can create SFDC digest. Okay. Then you can see something digest when you want to get data from external Salesforce. We can use digest. And it's like that we have SMAT, we have append, different kind of options we have, which will use augment and some kind of computed expression we can use some relatives. Okay, we can learn many options we can see here. We will do everything one by one. So this is nothing but my dataset builder. So if you want to build a data set, you can go from here. I'll show you in upcoming session complete overview how I'm going to do it. This is one part. Same way, if I go to data manager, and also if you go to the connect, so by default, what happened? The default local Salesforce data will be named as SFDC local. You can see we didn't give any name, but by default, my local database or local Salesforce data will be named as SFDC local here, and we'll show which objects is already synced and which objects have not. So if you see the objects, so what are the objects we're seeing? You can see here full sync or incremental sync. You can see here, and with that you can see. Let me show you. So for each object, how many fields we have taken. Okay, and if any object have some filters that you can see where we have filter. Okay, and if we have run this data flow to get data to my Salesforce Science Analytics platform, then you can see when it's last run. Okay, so we can, if on the screen also, if you want to add a new field for a object or add a new object, everything we can do here. So we can add or remove field to sync, and to sync the objects which have not, that we can do by running my data syncs. Okay, so if I go here, let's this user object what I have in established local. If I want to sync it, if I go to this drop down, I can see the run data sync, or I can click the edit connection mode. See, let's click the edit connection mode. So what kind of connection mode we have? So it's a full sync or periodic full sync or incremental sync. So full sync means overwrite all record with Salesforce object. So all data always including and bringing to my Einstein Analytics platform. So as I'm bringing all data, the sync can take longer. We use this mode with Salesforce object that perform hard delete and record on the content formula fields. Okay. The same way you can see something called incremental sync. So update record to match changes in Salesforce object. So I have a sync. The next thing I will not take all record again. Only I will take which are updated or new records that I will bring if you want incremental sync. Same way you see something called periodic full sync. So sync records incrementally and periodically overwrite all records with records in the Salesforce object. So you will use this method to prevent the data drift that can occur over time with incremental sync. So what I can do, not always but periodically, I'll have my incremental sync, but at certain time I'll pull all data from my local Salesforce data to here. So that kind of options I can do here. And if you want to run the data sync, you can simply click on the run data sync. So when you run the data syncs, the data will be synced or will be taken from the Salesforce up to here, as you can see here in this option. So what sync we are running, so what is the status, what is the type, when started, and how much time it's taking, everything we can see here. We see from here. Okay, so we'll see, this is the overview I'm showing. We'll see particularly for how objects are going to take and what we can do. Okay, so what we're going to do, let me show you as I was saying to you. Whenever you have a sync is enabled, the data will be replicated to data source. If not, then each time when you run the data sync, then my data directly come from the Salesforce server. So for example, what I'm going to do here, let's consider I have my Salesforce server. So I'm saying without data sync, how it's going to happen. This is this option I'm going to do for if you do not have data sync, then what is going to happen? Okay, with the data sync. Now see, you have a Salesforce org. So now, same way, you will have one more Einstein Analytics platform. So if you see, here you have Einstein. Let me diagram, make a good diagram here for you. Let's consider this is your Salesforce org. Simply I say, this is my Salesforce org. I'm just showing the example of if your sync is not enabled, what is going to happen. And in this Salesforce org, what happened? So now here, let's consider you have same org will have, but to identify, I'm just showing in different boxes. So let's consider this is my Einstein Analytics. Okay. Now in this Salesforce, what we have? You have all Salesforce objects. Here you have different Salesforce objects, account or user or opportunity. What are the objects you have? this is my objects. Now without data syncs, when you run this sync, or whatever, when you run this data flow, so it will take directly from these objects and create data set on my Einstein disk. So each time you run, which object you have synced, that object data will go and create a data set, and this is directly goes from my object level if it is without sync. But if the same case we will do with, let me try it here. Let's consider same case if you do with data sync. What is going to happen? This is my Salesforce org. This is my Einstein Analytics platform. So this is my Salesforce. So I have all my Salesforce objects here. It may be my local database or my local Salesforce or external Salesforce. This is my Einstein Analytics. So now each time when I run this one, the sync. So in the meanwhile, there will be something called related data set. Okay, so there will be a related data set. So that means my Einstein analytics will get data from my related data set, not from the Salesforce object directly. So my data set, whatever I have, my Salesforce object will be linked to my data set, and whenever I run the data run, so it will create each data set from related data sets. So instead of going to Salesforce and getting the data directly, which may take a longer time, we have a related data set to get data from the Salesforce to my analytics platform from related data set, which makes system to faster, make performance faster. So once the data flow is tested and working fine, then we can schedule it. If sync is enabled, then we make sure the schedule the data flow after the sync is scheduled. So your sync is scheduled, then your data flow should happen. Okay, so many options we have here. So now you see, once your sync you have set, for example, on this case, if I go here, let me go to this connect again. See, now I ran this, you can see here. Okay, all this kind of thing you can do. Okay. So once, like in data builder, I'll show you how the data builder is going to work. Okay, everything we can see how the things are going to happen or not. And also, as I said, whenever I want to get the data from the Salesforce, what we do, we can use the connected data. Okay, if you see here, we can use the connected data to get data from my external Salesforce. So nothing but you can see connected data here. So we can create data set. Okay, let's say how we want to do. You want to a CSV file or whatever, or multiple options we have. So based on that, we can create here. So data set, what data set you have, what are the connected data we have, you can see everything here. If you have connected data, it's showing is from SFDC local or wherever, and then we can create recipe. I didn't talk about recipe till now. In upcoming sessions, I'll tell what is recipe. Just to make you overview of the data manager, what we have and what we can do, just showing you different options. So we understood, if you want to get data from Salesforce, it may be local Salesforce and external Salesforce, we can do the same thing. Okay, I'll show you completely as a working how it's going to happen. Okay, so if you want to have, let's see, I'll go to this data flow once again. Let's, I'm just going to create a data. Let me open this data flow what I have, my first data flow. Let's, I want to use the let's data set. In the data set builder, I just want to use my name as first data set. Click continue. Okay, now it's showing from which object you want to get. As I say, as I'm going to create a data set here, so it's from which object I want. Okay, I want to get from account object. See how it's easy. I just pick the account. In this account object, what are the fields you want? Because as I said, whenever you are going to get data from the Salesforce, so we should know the data flow will create, and data flow then we can select what object and what field I want. Okay, then let's say I want account descriptions, I want account name, whatever the field you want, you can take it. Let's say I want account rating. Like that, you can select all the fields, and also you can navigate to the relationship, to the multi-level relationships. If I go to relationship, okay, account associated to, let's consider I want to go to parent account. From parent account, what I want, let's from parent account also, I want to go to created by record. Okay, and then you see here from this user level data what I want. Okay, from user level, uh, if any field I want, you can see here. Okay, I want active or not. Okay, and also I want, let's see, user department. Okay, so like this I can select what are the fields I want to sync. The same I see from the parent account what I want, or I want to go some navigate to more level, then I can go relationship. So this way also I can select what kind of data I am going to get from Salesforce, up to what relationships, and each object with what fields I want to get. I can select from here in my dataset builder. There are many things we can do in dataset builder. For now, as a basics, just understand. Okay, create a dataset, then add the object, then you can add the fields, you can add relationships, and you can navigate up to multiple level of relationships how you want. You can see as I did this one, there's something got created. Something you see SFDC digest, something augment. Don't worry for these things. I will talk about more on this. What is this happening in the upcoming sessions? Okay, this is the simple in a simple way I can create a data set and data flow to get my local Salesforce data. You can see something digest coming here. As I said, whenever the local Salesforce data is there, we will use SFDC digest node for my data flow. You can see it started with SFDC digest. I'll see what is this SFDC digest and what are the augment and what is different terminology also. Okay, this is just a basic how to get data from my local Salesforce or from my Salesforce org. Okay, for you can have a connected app, your sync may be enabled or not. So the data you are going to get from local or external. So then from dataset builder, how I am going to add the different object and their relations to create my dataset. In the next session, we'll see more interesting topic. Okay, stay tuned. Thank you for this session. Bye bye.